Hey, what's up everyone? Tim here from Everyday Tactical Vids. Today's video is for anybody out there who has a daughter. So maybe you and your wife have a daughter or multiple daughters in your family. Maybe you are part of a blended family. Now you have a stepdaughter. Maybe you adopted a little girl or maybe a teenage girl, whatever it might be, and now you have a daughter who's been adopted into your family. Maybe you play a role in some family's life. Maybe it's like you have a niece, but maybe that niece doesn't have a strong male figure in her life, and so now you're playing kind of a fatherly figure to that niece. So whatever it is, this video first and foremost is for people who have daughters, and then additionally it's for anybody who's really got women in their lives. So maybe it's a spouse, maybe it's a niece, maybe it's a coworker, your mother who's still alive and around. This video is going to be much more philosophical. It's not about wilderness survival gear or everyday carry gear. I'm sitting down here by the Hudson River in New York State, and I'm just having a week of study and reflection, and I've been jotting down some notes, but I was thinking of an article that my mother-in-law posted on Facebook probably maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, and so I texted her today and said, can you find that article and send it to me? The article has since, like, the link doesn't work anymore, but she found some other similar articles, and here's what it said. It basically put the idea forward for men to think about, that men are able to do things and engage in the world in a way that is different than how women engage in the world, and the particular focus was on physical safety. It's never a black and white thing, totally one way, for men and the other way for women. But in general, it's much easier for men to, to go walking out at night with like one other buddy and not have to think about the possibility of somebody physically harming you. Now, that being said, of course, we should all have situational awareness. You should be aware of people who may be a threat or a danger to you. But it is, in general, a very different experience for women than it is for men in our average kind of American culture, right? Like when I leave the house at night, I'm situationally aware, but I'm not thinking about how I'm going to carry my keys and wedge them in between my fingers like this so they can be a personal defense tool. If I want to go for a jog in the evening, towards sunset, I don't have to think a ton about it. I've got a headlamp or a flashlight, but I'm thinking about it in a very different way than your average woman is. And so, it just got me really pondering this idea of my own daughter, who's 9 years old now, and my responsibilities I engage with her to teach her a couple things. A variety of lessons are going to be passed on from me to her in my life and in her lifetime. But when it comes to her being physically safe, to teach her about situational awareness and to teach her to be a fighter. To never just, some guy comes up and starts being aggressive towards her and tries to get her into a car, whatever, and just to teach her fight, fight, fight. All the research says if you're at location A and somebody can get you into a car into location B, your chances of the survivability rate goes down significantly. And so to fight, to make a stink, to claw, to bite, to scratch, to kick, to punch, to scream, to get somebody else to come over and say, hey, what's going on in this situation? Be a fighter, be a fighter, be a fighter. We can talk about how men and women are different, how men and women are the same. There's some overlap, there's some differences. I'm not one of those people that says that men and women are the exact same people. They're just in different bodies. They are fundamentally different beings, and I think that's a good gift that God has given us. Men are different than women. And I was just digging up some research on this in a kind of more extemporaneous way. John Lovell over at the Warrior Poet Society has a video about this, and he just talks about how men and women are physically, even just physically different. So as I did some of my own research on this, I saw that in the Journal of Applied Physiology, on average, men have about 26 more pounds of skeletal muscle than women do. Women also have, on average, 40% less upper body strength and 33% less lower body strength. That's just fundamentally how men and women are different physically. And that's, the research across the years has affirmed this. Now, I read an article in The Guardian that basically talked about when it comes to longevity, surviving illness, and dealing with trauma, that women in general are better at that than men. In some research that was done recently, supercentenarians known right now in the world, they said there are 43 people and 42 of them are women. So yes, women have a major advantage there, right? So, and women are, there's pictures, you find them all over social media of men doing crazy things like balancing ladders on top of ladders on top of ladders, and there'll be a line underneath and it'll be like, this is why women live longer than men. And that's like funny to some degree, but it's also true, right? Women generally live longer than men. But I want to go back to this core thing that if you have a daughter, if you have a niece, if you have women in your life, particularly if it's a daughter, I want to challenge you, because this has been a challenge to me, to say, teach them about situational awareness and teach them to be fighters. If I can get my daughter to be aware of people around her, situations, dangerous situations, and to avoid them, then she doesn't have to move into that fight mode. But then if she gets in a situation, or a situation befalls her outside of a lot of her control, where someone is getting aggressive with her, particularly a male, teach her to be a fighter and teach her how to fight well and to fight back, so that she can stay alive and that she can have another day to live, another year to live, another, multiple decades to live. Like I said, I'm away on a study break now, sitting here by the Hudson River and just doing some quiet and reflection. But I was texting with my wife the other day, who's back in New Hampshire, and I said, make sure all the doors are locked, make sure all the windows are locked. And she messaged me back and she said, I went around and checked all the windows, all the doors. We have a little gate that we use to keep the dogs in one particular area at night, and she sets it up right behind the front door, so that if someone tried to get in at night, the gate would fall over and make a noise and agitate the dogs and wake her up. And I told her, I said, listen, if you ever hear anybody coming in the house when I'm not there, especially at night, I'm talking about, I said, you yell down the stairs. I have called the police because I heard noise outside. I am armed with a gun, and you better get the heck, in other words, if you need to, out of my house right now, because it's game on. I just come at that person verbally from upstairs, yelling down, let them know you mean business, right? So, that's good advice for maybe anybody if you're at home alone and somebody comes into the house and you hear it downstairs. But there's a different way we have to think about it. For me, when I'm talking about infusing that truth, that information into my daughter and my wife. And so my challenge, my encouragement to you today is to be someone who is equipping your daughters, your nieces, in particular the younger generation, equipping them to be situationally aware and to be fighters, to be warriors. My daughter's a little princess to me. She loves her princesses and, all the cute little girl things that she loves. Great, that's awesome. But she needs to be aware and she needs to be a warrior, and I'm going to infuse that into her. And this article that my mother-in-law posted a few weeks ago, man, it just struck me as I was thinking about, am I equipping my daughter to be safe when she's out and about in life? And it's easier for me now because I'm with her when she's out and about. But as she grows up and she starts doing things on her own, am I giving her the skills? Am I passing on the knowledge and information so she can be safe and sound when she's out there? So I just wanted to put this video out to encourage you guys to be thinking about that and how you're pouring into that younger generation, your daughters, to make sure that they are thinking tactically and living purposefully, as we talk about on the Everyday Tactical Vids channel. So I've got other videos like this that'll be coming out in the future. I'm not trying to stir up paranoia. I'm trying to stir up awareness. Because, man, I want my daughter to be aware and to be safe and to be sound as she goes out, because we live in a dangerous world, and there's inevitably going to be risks everywhere. But I want her to take risks for the right thing, for radically loving people, for my family and our faith following Jesus, that she would radically share about who Jesus is with people. But I want her to take the right risks and to avoid the wrong risks, so she can have a long, healthy, God-honoring, joy-filled life. And part of that is me teaching her to be aware and to be a warrior. All right, so there's some food for thought. I'm going to wrap up now. I've got a couple of videos here for you to check out. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Listen, you're welcome to say whatever you want, but keep it clean, keep it wholesome. Be respectful as we engage in discussion on this important topic. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Take care.